Okay, we've just witnessed the first piece of media in nigh 10 years covering Dragon Age, the Veilguard. I think a lot of people, and I will point it out to you, have pointed out that the definite article is not necessary here. Veilguard sounds a lot better. And we saw a cinematic trailer of what the game appears to be like, and above all, the companions. Now, companions have always been important in Dragon Age. You can romance them, you can befriend them, and they are essential elements of the game, so it kind of makes sense that they would show the companions. But in terms of story and what it's all about, obviously they can't spoil stuff. I would have liked to have seen something maybe related to Solus or what have you. But I think the thing that's gotten to everyone, myself included, is the extreme cartoony, almost Play-Doh style art. And that seems to be an even greater departure from previous games. Now, I've said before, in terms of Dragon Age, every game iterates in a different way. That also includes the art style. But I have to say, I'm disappointed by the art style. I'm also disappointed by the aesthetics of the characters. They all look rather odd in their own odd way, at least based on the trailer. And some of them, or at least their presentation, looks outright silly. Now, we still have to wait until Tuesday for actual gameplay, because that's going to be the true moment of truth, no pun intended, because then we're going to actually see gameplay. This is a cinematic trailer. It may or may not be directly relevant to the game and to the gameplay, because cinematic trailers, as we know, can often depart from these things. But that said, I did not like the art style overall, and I did not enjoy the aesthetics, and they kind of look like Play-Doh. However, it is important to know who the companions are, because as many of you know, you only get to take 2 companions with you. And this time there are only 7 companions. A whole bunch of them appear to be rogues, so maybe you don't want to play a rogue as a main character. And 2 of them appear to be mages, and 2 of them appear to be warriors. So it looks like the following: 2 mages, 2 warriors, and 3 rogues. Now for myself, I'm fairly content that Scout Harding from Dragon Age Inquisition, that you can take with you, and you can romance her presumably as well. But again, she was plagued by the same art style issues that I have mentioned with respect to the whole trailer. Now you might remember me saying, and I was not the only one, that everything hinges on Dragon Age, Dreadwolf / now the Veilguard in terms of BioWare's future as a studio. After so many shutdowns, EA would be all too happy to shut down BioWare if this turns out to be a flop. And the cartoony, Play-Doh style art style is not helping the cause, so to speak. If you go to the main channel of Dragon Age, where there's a separate trailer for Dragon Age, the Veilguard, official reveal trailer is what it's called, you will see a like to dislike ratio, as of the making of this video, of 14k likes to 12k dislikes. That means there's practically a parity in terms of likes to dislikes. That is not a good sign, because of course, the die-hard Dragon Age fans will play this game. I'm going to play this game. Regardless, I want to know how the story of Solus goes. I want to know what happens to the Veil. I want to know what happens in Thedas. Maybe I'm a fool, but I'm interested in the story. Not necessarily the companions, not necessarily the characters, not necessarily even in the gameplay. But if you separate the rest of us out, and I'm not even a die-hard Dragon Age fan, I am an above-average fan. I have some knowledge of the setting, more than average. I like the setting, but it's not my great passion in life. And then you take the diehard fans that know everything about Dragon Age and will always love Dragon Age no matter how bad or good it might be. Separate those people out. What do you have? Who is the majority of the consumer base? They are casuals, for lack of a better word. The types of casuals who, when they played Mass Effect, simply played male shepherd soldier, because that's what most people did. And if this cartoony, Play-Doh style art style does not appeal to people who have a vested interest in the game, do you think it's going to appeal to a broader base of players who are casuals who might only play this game once, if at all? Because maybe then they'll be disinclined to buy the game in the first place. And that's my concern. So much rides on this game. I want it to succeed, because I wouldn't mind another Mass Effect game. But if this was their best presentation, a kind of weird, upbeat, cheerful trailer with Play-Doh style art, I'm not too sure about this. As you know, Dragon Age originally was conceived of as a dark fantasy setting. Dragon Age Origins, whilst it does have its moments of levity and humor, is a dark fantasy setting. There's a lot of death, destruction, plague, people suffering, loss. Now, I'm not saying that's a beautiful thing, but part of the beauty, as it were, the aesthetic beauty of the setting of the time was the fact that that was an element, making tough, difficult decisions that have an impact on your companions, the world, and everything around you. And the original trailers for that reflected that. It was grim. Now consider the story theme of Dragon Age: The Veilguard, and that is the utter destruction of the world as we know it. Something even worse than a mass Darkspawn invasion, which takes a long time to destroy the world if it ever does. We're talking about the absolute destruction and sundering of reality as we know it. High stakes, big deal. And some of these characters, like the Veil Jumper, for example, the elf character, it looked like a Disney plot right there, jumping out of the veil with her smiling, saying yippee or whatever it was. I mean, contrast that, I don't know, with Darkspawn broodmothers and people being infected by Darkspawn. Now, maybe some of that is still there, for all we know. I don't know. But this is really important. This is marketing. This is how you advertise things. The underlying tone is as important as anything else. And the underlying tone that was shown to us was one of levity, of joy. It's all fun. Just look how they portray Varric and Scout Harding in the bar. There's a bar fight. They're kind of joking. They're choosing the companions. I just don't think this is a great way to approach it. But as I said, ultimately, this is just a cinematic trailer. And the 15-minute gameplay that we are going to see this Tuesday will be, in all likelihood, a lot more revelatory, a lot more relevant, and a lot more important. Because it could be the case, and maybe this is a cope on my part, it could be the case that the art in the game is a fairly large departure from what we saw in the reveal trailer. Or it might be the same. Now don't get me wrong, the situation does indeed not look good. But I think there might be a silver lining here. All the information we've received thus far seems to indicate that they've had a lot of time and put a lot of focus into combat. So even though, for example, the combat system seems very much overhauled in terms of having two companions that you don't control, in effectively the same manner as Mass Effect, that's basically what they're going for, Mass Effect 2 or 3, they really seem to be focusing a lot on combat. And ultimately, and this might be some kind of strategy they've cooked up, if a game is fun, i.e. the combat is fun, that can oftentimes be the major selling point, because a lot of people think story is important, but a story with really boring combat for most people these days, for quote-unquote modern audiences, is typically a no-go. You can have the best story possible, and then some people might like that, but for most people they need entertaining and engaging combat. And so my sneaking suspicion here, and I could be completely wrong, is that they have a very heavy focus on combat because they know that's what sells to modern audiences a lot more than story and other elements. But again, I could be wrong on this. Look, if you have no interest in this game and are disappointed, I totally get that. The aesthetics are just way off. The characters look weird, and it's extremely goofy looking, at least thus far. So anyway, let me know what you think in the comment section. And as always, thank you for tuning in. If you like my content, you can leave a like, comment, share, and subscribe. It really helps out the channel. It'd be much appreciated. And I will check you out next time. Take care.